Welcome to Implementation Module 5, which is Mastermind Groups. This is Part 1, Mastermind 101. I'm your implementation consultant, Blaine Elkers, and I will be your host for this part of the module. And I'm excited because Mastermind Groups are one of the most powerful ways to not only kind of better your business, but also better yourself and get better results. And in this part, we're going to do an overview. This is a little overview of Mastermind 101, Part 1. We're going to talk about what is a mastermind. What is a mastermind group? What are some of the famous mastermind groups? We're also going to talk about the power of the third mind. That is what Mr. Napoleon Hill, talked about in his famous book, Think and Grow Rich. We're going to talk about the benefits of a mastermind group, and then we'll end with talking about the different types of mastermind groups, what different kinds there are that you could actually be a part of. So first of all, in a very simple form, what is a mastermind? Basically, it's a friendly alliance of two or more people. So it's a friendly alliance of two or more people. A little more specific, Napoleon Hill kind of formalized it in the 20s and the 30s, 1920s and 1930s. And he said a mastermind is the coordination of knowledge and effort in the spirit of harmony between two or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose. So if we unpack that, and we'll talk a little bit more about Napoleon Hill later in this module, but if we unpack that a little bit, it's a coordination. It's when people are coming together, they're bringing their knowledge, they're putting forth some effort in a spirit of harmony. It's very important that there's no animosity, that there's a harmony amongst the people that are in the group, and it's between two or more people. So literally just two people, you can have a mastermind group. Some are bigger and some are very large, but typically they're anywhere from, say, 2 to 8 people typically. And it's for the attainment of a definite purpose. So we'll talk more about that, but the group is coming together for a specific reason. Now, famous masterminds. Now, mastermind groups, they go way back, probably, to the dawn of history. But on the screen here, I'm showing on the top there, Socrates and Plato. They got together in groups of 2 or more, not always harmonious, but to discuss and to debate and to better themselves. You've got Jesus, Christ there, and that was right at the between BC and AD. Actually, Socrates and Plato, that was 300 BC. And then maybe 500 to 600 AD, you have this King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. Not sure if that's a myth or legend, but basically here again, it's a group that comes together. And one of the things I like about King Arthur's round tables, he made the table round so no one sat at the head of the table. Nobody was better than anybody else. And that's kind of the spirit of the mastermind group. But it's a group of people coming together to discuss things, to move things forward with a common purpose, a common agenda, so to speak. As we start to move along, one of the most famous ones that not a lot of people know about, the junto, which actually comes from the Latin to join, was created in 1727 by Benjamin Franklin. And this is a really cool thing. He established this club for mutual improvement. So a collection of people came together and they had debates. It actually led to one of the very first libraries in the United States. But gentlemen came together from diverse backgrounds, but they came together with this common goal to improve themselves. And so initially they were businessmen. They all came together on Friday night at the tavern. Later they moved it to a house. But they came through and they met and they discussed things for the betterment of each other. So they were there to try to improve themselves and improve the group collectively as a whole. Moving forward to one of the most famous, and this is one that Napoleon Hill refers to, and that is Andrew Carnegie. And he created one of the most famous business masterminds ever in the steel industry. And this is about 1899. He started this. And what he says in his own words, he says, well, if you want to know how I got my money, I will refer you to these men here on my staff. They got it for me. We have here in this business a mastermind. It is not my mind. It is not the mind of any other man on my staff, but the sum total of all these minds that I have gathered around me, that constitute a mastermind in the steel business. So he actually, I believe he's the fourth richest man in history. Just to put that in perspective, in today's dollars, his fortune was about $310 billion. Right now, number one in the United States is Bill Gates at 79 million. He's the richest person in the United States. Here we have Andrew Carnegie would be 310 billion. So he created this business, this billion-dollar business, by the use of bringing people together for a common purpose and bringing those minds together. And we'll talk in a moment about Napoleon Hill and the third mind. But Andrew Carnegie, he realized that there was this more powerful mind that came together as people came together for a common cause or purpose. Theodore Roosevelt, one of the younger presidents, he became president in his 40s. He had something called, and you could kind of Google this if you want to learn more, he called it his tennis cabinet. And there's a picture here on the screen of that cabinet, and basically it was these gentlemen that he would play tennis with and do sports with, but they would come together for that purpose, but also they came together to talk about things, to talk through things, to help set policy, to move the nation forward, right? So that happened around 1901. In the 1910s, you have a very famous mastermind group, Henry Ford. So Henry Ford, bringing automobiles to life and bringing the assembly line to life, again, amassing a very large fortune. And what Napoleon Hill wrote about Henry Ford, he said, men take on the nature and the habits and the power of thought of those with whom they associate in a spirit of sympathy and harmony. Through his association with Edison, Burbank, Burroughs, and Firestone, Mr. Ford added to his own brain power the sum and substance of the intelligence, experience, knowledge, and spiritual forces of these four men. Moreover, he appropriated and made use of the mastermind principle. So let's pause here for a moment so you really take that all in, because what Ford did, and Ford admitted he wasn't a super smart person. He admitted that. But what he did is he was able to take the brain power of these other great men and bring that together, their intelligence, their experience, their knowledge, their spiritual forces. And when you brought that all together, it was extremely, extremely powerful. And they would actually go, they called themselves the vagabonds, but these gentlemen would go on camping trips. They'd bring the family, they'd bring the spouses. You can see in the upper right corner of the screen, the big lazy Susan there. This is trips from a camping photos from a camping trip in 1921. You had Firestone there, Firestone Jr., Thomas Edison, Burroughs was there, Henry Ford was there, and they would go out for weeks at a time, and they would sit and they would talk and they would strategize and they would come together and help one another in this idea of the mastermind group. Another use, Franklin D. Roosevelt, the other Roosevelt president, in 1932, he had things that he called the brain trust to help us get out of and rebound from the Great Depression. He used a collection of people to help him do that. And they would come together and they would kind of put their brain powers together to solve issues and to move things forward. Moving a little bit into the 30s and the 40s, we have a literary mastermind, which is a pretty famous one. There's lots of books that were done about this. It included C.S. Lewis, J.R. Tolkien, Charles Williams, a bunch of great authors from this time, and they would get together Tuesday mornings and they would meet, and they'd actually usually meet at this pub, the Eagle and the Child, which I believe is still there. There's whole books written about, they're called the Inklings, and there's a whole books written about them. Tolkien did Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit. He even did a book called The Notion Club. That was actually a book about the group, and the group initially formed as a mastermind to read and discuss unfinished works that all these literary greats were working on. And later on, C.S. Lewis, one of the famous authors in this group, said, the next best thing to being wise oneself is to live in a circle of those who are. And so that became known as the circle of wisdom. And so the mastermind group, if you think about that, it's basically you're setting up your own circle of wisdom, or you're part of a circle of wisdom when you join into this mastermind group. Walt Disney in the 30s, all the way through the 60s, and even past the 60s for a little bit, had his own mastermind group. He called them the Nine Old Men. And so these guys there, pictured there on the screen, they were responsible. Those animators, they were 9 animators, they were responsible. They came together and created some of the greatest classics of Disney's time. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Bambi, Peter Pan, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Alice in Wonderland. All those things were again created not by one person, but really by the collective efforts of all those people together. If you look, getting a little bit more recent, 2004, Mark Zuckerberg, he was really used the mastermind group to initially create Facebook, one of the largest companies in the world right now, and it was with his buddies, from Harvard. I mean, there's a picture of him in the Harvard dorm. There's pictures of him with his friends. There's a picture in the lower left of him at a fraternity party with one of the founders, and their pictures are there. And so really what happened was they came together as a group and started that initial Facebook company, had the beginnings in a mastermind group. Also today you've got Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, 2 billionaires. There they are playing ping pong on the screen. But these guys have come together, and Warren Buffett wrote and has also said in interviews, he is the second richest man in the world, and he gives credit to his friend and partner Charlie Munger, but also close friend Bill Gates, mentor Benjamin Graham, as the keys to his massive success. So he realized that it was through a mastermind alliance that he was able to steady and really grow his fortune. And so today you'll see Mr. Gates and Mr. Buffett together doing lots of projects, making lots of change, and moving their fortunes forward as well together. And the last one that I want to share is recent, and it's a Maverick Business Group. And so there's a gentleman I know, his name is Yannick Silver, and he's pictured there in the lower right where it says me. That's him, Yannick Silver. Joe Polish is a pretty famous guy. But what he did is he created a mastermind group with Sir Richard Branson, the famous entrepreneur, Virgin Airlines. And so he's got his island, he owns an island called Necker Island, and they put together a mastermind group to go out there and spend, I think it's about a week, with Sir Richard Branson and mastermind with him. And the interesting thing there in the bottom right picture, it says you. It's got an arrow. You could be sitting next to Sir Richard Branson. This is a mastermind group where for $40,000 you can go and be there and be part of that mastermind group. Anyway, it's turned into a yearly endeavor. But again, it's the collection of people coming together for a common purpose in a spirit of harmony. With a definite purpose in mind, coming together and exchanging and kind of adding together their brain power. So Napoleon Hill, he calls this power the power of the third mind. And the way he said it was, no two minds ever come together without creating a third, invisible, intangible force, which may be likened to a third mind. So here it's synergistic and more powerful than normal math. So 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. It equals 3, 4, 5, or more. So for example, if I have 10 ideas, I can come up with 10 ways to improve my business, and I talk to you about it. And separately, I can come up with 10, and maybe you can come up with 10. So if we came together, instead of just having 20, my 10 plus your 10, the combination of our two ideas and our two brains would create a third brain that may come up with its own 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 ideas. And so it's much the sum of the parts, it's much greater than just the sum of the parts. Stephen Covey called it synergy, and he said it's what happens when 1 + 1 = 10 or 100 or even 1,000. It's profound the result when two or more respectful human beings determine to go beyond their perceived ideas to meet a great challenge. Again, synergy, 1 + 1 is greater than 2. 1 + 1 can actually be 11, right? It's that powerful of a synergy model. And when you start to think about why Mastermind, Tim Ferriss, I really like him. I've read a couple of his books. The most famous is The 4-Hour Work Week. He really hit it on the head about masterminding and why mastermind groups are so successful for people. And he said, and I quote, "I don't think people need more motivation. I think they need more feedback and accountability." That's it. I would venture to say that feedback and accountability, such as what is found in a mastermind group, tend to provide the type of motivation that makes the difference. So mastermind groups provide feedback and accountability, and that goes far beyond just simple motivation. One of the things I talk about, and I've talked about in other modules, is the lost pages, right? Think and Grow Rich. When I first read the book, you see on the screen there, I read the little one to the left, the little paperback copy. I read that when I was in college. And then later I bought one of the original copies, one of the first 5,000, and I noticed the first 2 pages were different. And that changed my life. I had been doing well, but I hadn't really gotten to a place what I call infinite wealth, which I'll explain in a second. I hadn't gotten to that place yet. But what struck me was there were 2 pages in the beginning of the book, and one of them talked about the most profitable way to use this book. And it said that you had to use this book, this Think and Grow Rich book, you had to read it and use the mastermind principle, which he said is that you come together to discuss the book. You can read a chapter as well, but you come together to discuss the book chapter by chapter. And I ended up doing that 5 times in a row. And like I say on the screen, what happened is you tap into the sources of knowledge, not only in your own mind, but in the mind of all the people, all of the acquired knowledge and the priceless value of all that from every other person present. And so Napoleon Hill, he dedicates a whole chapter, chapter 10, to the power of the mastermind. He said it's absolutely essential. Do not neglect it. There's an example that he gives of a Prudential life insurance team. I think it was a team of about 12 people. And when they came together as a mastermind group, started meeting regularly with the sole purpose to increase the sales of the company, they actually, because of that third mind that was created, that more powerful mind, which was the collective use of all their minds and their experience and their spirit, all that, they did more. They had brought in more volume to the company in 3 months, the first 3 months of that, than they had the whole year before. Extremely powerful. And for me, the mastermind group is what allowed me to move into infinite wealth. And infinite wealth for me is when your passive income, so income from either investments or, in my case, it was from businesses that would operate without me. So I had no daily operations in the business. I was able to build a business, still have that business today, that runs without any daily operations from me, and it's greater than my monthly expenses. So I actually have freedom of time. And to me, that's infinite wealth, is when all of your monthly expenses are covered by a business where there's no daily operation. So this is extremely powerful concept, this mastermind. Let's talk a little bit about the benefits of it, and then we'll close this part with talking about the different types of masterminds. I think the mastermind group is the most beneficial thing that you can do, not only for your business, but for you and for results. And what would be possible if the people around you refuse to let you fail? What happens when you get that group? And it doesn't, the mastermind group, when you first join one, it doesn't always start off like this, but as you develop a relationship, it turns out to be people who they won't let you fail. What would be possible if people around you refuse to let you fail? And what happens with a mastermind group is that you get a better business, but you also get a better you, and you get better results. I call that the better BYR. Better business, better you, and better results. So let's take a look at this. Better business. First of all, the mastermind groups are a collection of peers. So there are other people that are committed to and serious, and trustworthy and supportive, and they're looking to typically either they're looking to say build their own business. You're looking to build your business. That's one of the most common forms of a mastermind group. We call that mutual benefit. But they're there because they want to move forward. They want to get better. Okay, and they're committed to that. They're also realistic, and realistic meaning for you, they're a good sounding board. Okay, so your business is gonna improve because you've got a great sounding board, and you're gonna get honest feedback. Right? They're going to give you honest feedback. They're not one of your employees, or they're not your boss, or they're not your friend who may not give you the total honest feedback. No, they're going to give you honest feedback. They're there to help you, and they know that, and they have their own experience in working with that. They're also there to help you gain clarity, which is one of the most important things you can do in business. The peer group also brings you different points of view. A lot of times they come from different industries. Sometimes the mastermind group can be everybody, could be all real estate agents or all attorneys, but a lot of times they're different people from different businesses, different industries, but they all bring in their unique experiences, right, to you. And lastly is they help you to see your blind spots. And this was really big, especially for me as I went in to mastermind groups. Sometimes you don't even realize you have these blind spots because they're blind spots, but the group sees that, and they help you see that. They help you get more realistic. They help you move forward and through that. And one of the quotes I hear most commonly is, as they started to interact with the group, I started to use my time much more wisely. And people, as they got to see their blind spots, as they got honest feedback, as they realized what really works in the real world, they started to use their time much more wisely. From a business standpoint also, you have, what will these partners provide? They're providing specialized knowledge from their background. Also, a lot of times when you're looking to do something and move forward in your business, you can shorten the learning curve because the mastermind group is all this collection of experience and ideas. A lot of times you don't have to reinvent the wheel because they've already done that advertisement. They already did a Facebook advertising campaign. They've done all those things, so they can shorten your learning curve. Big benefit there. Collaboration. When you're working with your mastermind group, you've got collaboration. You can do partnerships, joint ventures. So there's a lot of business collaboration that happens within that group over time. They also can review your work or give you reviews online. Testimonials. They can provide testimonials, especially for a new product, or referrals. Once they understand your business because you're doing this mutual sharing and you're working together on each other's business, they become really successful at providing referrals for you. It also helps you to expand your personal network. You start to know more people, and not only do you know the people that are in the group, but the people that they know. You start to be able to increase the size of your personal network. You have access to proven resources. Again, people come into the mastermind group, they know what the best company for recording is, or they know the best company to do transcription, or the best customer management software. I mean, there's all those proven resources that other people are using come to you. Better brainstorming. This is a big one. You're never stuck because you have a mastermind group. You're not stuck. You've got better brainstorming. You got the creation of that third mind. You can also do test marketing with them. You could test your sales presentations with them. And what happens in business with a mastermind group, the most important thing to me is innovation happens. The lights come on, and your business doesn't just move forward in little steps. It moves forward in a big leap. And innovation happens when you get into that third mind and you get all those ideas and all that stuff coming together. Okay, that's the better business. What about a better you? This is what a lot of people who join masterminds, they don't realize this until they get in, how beneficial this really is you improve. Okay, you get better. One of the big things most entrepreneurs have is what I call isolation island, right? You avoid isolation island because as a business leader, a lot of times it's pretty lonely. You feel isolated and disconnected, and now you have this group that you can talk to. You'll find that your confidence and your courage increases with the support of these other business people. You can confront your fears. Somebody's got your back. I mean, it's so great to say, look, I'm not sure about this promotion. I'm not sure about this idea. give me the honest truth about it. And they do. And they care about you and they follow up with you. And we'll talk about in part 2 how to get the most from your mastermind group. But in this part 1, we're kind of giving you the Mastermind 101. But it's also, for you, it's a safe haven for ideas, concerns, challenges. I mean, you get better because you can be open and free. There's this fellowship that develops, the long-term friendships, come out of these groups. Some of the first groups that I was, formal masterminds I was in, almost 10 years ago, made a big impact. And I'm still friends with those people. And I'm still masterminding with some of those in one way or another. The other thing that really kind of helps you to develop is you have the ability to serve. There's something kind of deep inside everyone. They want to help other people. They want the ability to serve others. Service to many leads to greatness. And here with the Mastermind Group, you have the ability to serve. You have the ability to help others. You have the ability to see your life experience used by another person to help them, to save them, to get them not to drift down the wrong path. So you've got an ability to serve. Support, you've got great support through the tough times, through the emergency times. A lot of times, people will call me, maybe it's a monthly mastermind, but they've got an emergency. I need some help with this decision. Could you help me? So you've got help for that. You've got that support. And inspiration comes from the group that helps you personally, motivation, energy, not only from you yourself succeeding, but seeing other people succeed with your help. Very motivating, very inspiring. And lastly, it's memorable moments. And, life really is about memorable moments with friends, family, people that you love. That's what people talk about. As I've studied people and even my own relatives at near the end of their life, it's all about what they talk about is not so much their business as the memorable moments with people they cared about. And you'll be developing those with and in the Mastermind Group. So for you, it's a better you. And lastly, it's better results. So what happens with an Mastermind Group is there's a high level of accountability and implementation. It drives goal setting. In between the mastermind meetings, you're setting goals and you're committing to those goals. It improves your focus. It has real deadlines. It gets you to think about what matters most. What's the most important thing for me to accomplish between now and the next meeting? And here's the thing, a lot of people don't like this, but it's the most important thing you can do. It makes you think. A mastermind group provides you with better results because it makes you think. It makes you think because as you go into your mastermind meeting, you're going to be talking about your business and what's working right, what's working wrong, where you need help. So it makes you think about your business month in and month out, or week in and week out if you're doing it weekly. Also, the mastermind group fosters action and avoids excuses. You don't want to let people down. That is a powerful motivator, to not let people down. So it fosters action, accountability, implementation, avoids excuses, and when you need it, boom, you can get the kick in the butt from the mastermind group. If it's needed, it's there. Again, proven experiences of the partners helps you move forward. It's an unlimited, you're getting better results because you have an unlimited number of ideas by the use of the third mind. And like I said, that you've got kind of proven things. Your results, when you adopt something that another mastermind member has had success with, the possibility for results is much higher. And what happens is you're going to find that the group takes you well beyond your own efforts and your own mind. So if you stayed outside of a mastermind group, the furthest you could get is X, and Y is so far beyond that. It's well beyond. People afterwards, being in a mastermind group, say for a year, they go, I'm well beyond what my own efforts and my own mind could have brought me. And people say, I started working on the things that matter most. I think that's so impressive to watch people light up because they realize what's important. The old 80-20 rule, they started work on the vital few versus the trivial many. I started working on the things that mattered most, and that made all the difference. So very, very powerful. Better business, better you, better results. All right, let's close with this. What are the different types of masterminds? There's a couple. The most common one is mutual benefit. And mutual benefit is when people come together to help each other out. And that's the most common business one, where people, you could have different types of business or same business, but you come together and you're each there to help each other out. So collectively, you're sharing resources, you're giving each other testimonials and leads and things like that, but you're also spending time focused on just your business. So the whole group takes some time to focus in on your business, and then you give some of your time to focus in on their business. So you're going through kind of business by business. So that's the mutual benefit. The next one is a mission based. So there are mastermind groups that come together for common missions, passions, causes. So, for example, that could be as simple as the office staff in your office coming together once a week to mastermind about how can we make the customer experience better, right? Coming together for a definite purpose. How can we make the office chemistry better? How can we increase profits? Whatever it is, you can come together around a certain mission. Families can be a mastermind group and come around and say, how do we create the most loving family environment that we can? How can we support each other? So that can be a mission-based mastermind. Then there's a specific goal or task mastermind. And those specific goal or task mastermind, that's where a group of people come together to do a common task. So that could be like everyone says, you know what, we all want to write a book. So you come together and you're meeting once a week, once a month, whatever it is, and you're coming together to share and to work together for each of you to write a book. Maybe you're coming together to learn Facebook advertising, or maybe a group is coming and training to run a marathon. So again, that you can come together and use the same mastermind principles to leap forward by coming together to create a mastermind around a specific goal or task. And the last one is an imaginary mastermind. And this is something I'm not going to get into in detail here, but it's where Napoleon Hill calls it the invisible counselor. So in Think and Grow Rich, there's a chapter called The Sixth Sense. And that chapter is where he talks about the invisible counselors. And basically what he does is he says, look, you create a mastermind group in your mind, and it's imaginary, but you sit down and you have a meeting with them. So if you wanted to have a meeting with Thomas Edison and Napoleon Hill and whoever you wanted, for your business, you would sit down and you would imagine yourself sitting at a table and talking and asking them, what do you recommend? What would you do? What do you think I should do? And he mentioned that as he studied the lives of those great men and women that he had in his invisible counselors or his imaginary mastermind, he got to start to get more and more insights from them. So I think it's great, especially if you read Think and Grow Rich or some of other Napoleon Hill's other books. It would kind of not be too far of a stretch to be sitting with him, close your eyes, sit across the table, and ask him, hey, what would you think, Napoleon, I should do with this or with that? So again, it's just another flavor of the mastermind group. We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. Albert Einstein. A mastermind group may be the missing link to your greatness. And so, listen, that's part one. You completed Module 5, Part 1, Mastermind 101. The second part we're going to talk about in Part 2, how to get the most from your mastermind group. But here we covered what is a mastermind, the famous mastermind groups, the power of the third mind, the benefits of the mastermind, and then the different types of the mastermind. So now, get into a mastermind. You see the little fist pump baby there, got into a mastermind today. Make sure you're in a good mastermind group and take control and make it a great day.